don't put words in my mouth about blame. I accept my fate. I accept the fate that I was.
I think you did imply that this was capitalism. But it is American capitalism.
It's a kind of American capitalism,
fair enough.
right?
Okay.
And so there is also this sense that I'm not blaming anyone. It's an infrastructural failing with regard to industrialized countries. And more industrialized countries in the Anglo-American world want to emulate American capitalism.
Health is always about a balance. Our bodies do it all the time. We're constantly brought back into balance. Every aspect of our physiology is brought back into balance by our own internal, individual systems of care. At the planetary level, things are brought back into balance. The tides bring the sea back into balance. They create the interstitial ranges between the sea and the land where our ancestors crawled out of the ocean to become us. Without that domain of care, that balance, that sense of attention to balance, we wouldn't be here. It's maintained to this day by the moon, as it happens. And the moon, in some sense, has a constant attention to this balance. Now, you might say that's not care, that you're devaluing care by dehumanizing it. I'm not. I'm arguing that care has a specific dynamic principle that's related to health, has to pay attention to the question of balance, and has to be the restorative force that brings us back into balance. Constant care to the physiological needs when we're infants, and then the careful withdrawing of that attention without taking away altogether as we grow up, so that we can maintain psychological health. Where does that fit with capitalism, and where does it fit with the point that David made that we've spent more and more on healthcare, which isn't necessarily care, it's not necessarily the same thing, within capitalism, and therefore capitalism can adapt? I would argue that actually capitalism's reached the point of no return within that model, because we are very rapidly moving to a point where we can no longer afford the healthcare bills that we've accumulated through capitalism. And one of the reasons for that is that the predominant driving force of capitalism is not around care, it's around carelessness. It's not an attention to health, it's actually a profiteering from our own ill health. And we see that specifically in the rise of chronic diseases that are related, first and foremost, to the way that we live, to our diet. And when we look at particularly that factor's not the only factor. Stress is another factor. Environmental toxins are a factor in our health, but diet is a big factor in the epidemic of chronic health, which now kills 3/4 of people worldwide, die through and lose the quality of their life through chronic disease. That is partly related to the unadulterated profiteering of a big food industry, which has been allowed to run rampant, profit from our own neuropsychology, our own addiction to foods that make us ill, and indeed the legitimization of that activity through the pursuit of economic growth in the name of capitalism. Now, that is a model which has created what I would call a false economy. It created profits for the few, but it created ill health for the many. And what is our answer to it? Our answer to it is a pharmaceutical industry that is also intent on profit, and it's profiteering from selling us cures to symptoms which no longer address the underlying causes of the disease and enter even more toxins into our body. And both of those things are legitimized through the pursuit of growth within capitalism that is itself addicted to growth. That's the sense, I think, in which we have to look at the underlying structures and ask the question, how do we get back to a care that is truly restorative?
Okay. You're certainly right, and this is something I know about and write about in terms of the food industry and some of the practices of, the way foods are industrially processed, manufactured. It's also true that Ozempic as the cure-all coming from big pharma is not going to work, because there are still things that will go into the foods that we're eating, even at less concentration, that will have ill effects in terms of inflammatory disease, in terms of irritable bowel and so on. However, there's a political question here, which is, you have a faith in getting back to homeostasis, letting our internal systems and our external environmental mechanisms kind of get back into balance and regulation. But isn't there also a kind of pitch at the moment, politically, in making people individually and personally responsible. Preventative medicine being about you should eat better, you should look at what you're putting into your system, that it's your responsibility. And I wonder if that's just not really fair when, we look at the food environments people live in and you think sometimes it's just impossible to find affordable, recognizable, delicious food that isn't filled with ultra-processed ingredients. So I worry that capitalism's kind of caring is going to put it back on the individual here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That is exactly what happens. We fat shame people. We talk about lifestyle change as being individual responsibility. I mean, let me just tell you a little personal story here, because during the process of writing The Care Economy, I was diagnosed as one of these people with a chronic disease, which was diabetes. It's related to sugar and refined carbohydrates and the diets that are overwhelmed with sugar and refined carbohydrates. And high blood sugar now affects something like 1 in 3 of the population, 2 in 3 of people of my age, and is responsible for inflammatory diseases and many of the chronic diseases that are overwhelming the healthcare system. So, and being faced with that, and it was a kind of moment of shame for me, if you like. I kind of think of myself as a healthy, fit guy who looked after themselves, and realizing that I'd been diagnosed with something that affects actually an increasing number of people and is a part of a social problem. My initial instinct in the face of that shame, in a sense, was go away and try and fix it, which I did my best to do. But the first lesson that I found was that is almost impossible.
Right.
Because of the system that we live in. And so, there's a sense here in which we're looking constantly, medicine and our model of health is looking for pathogens. It's looking for pathogenesis. What is the root of our illness? Is the root of the illness my personal behavior? It's a causal factor in the illness that I have. I did eat too much sugar. I was brought up in an environment in which that sugar was plentiful. I was designed in an environment where sugar was extremely scarce. And I was living in a world in which people could profit from those two differences by creating a diet that ultimately is going to affect everyone. I'm just one blip in the radar of this chronic pandemic. I'm irrelevant to it. And my lesson, not only from finding myself in that position, but also finding how absolutely fucking difficult it is to change, is that you can never expect population health by placing personal responsibility on the individual while the system is deliberately geared towards keeping them sick.
Right. David, your thoughts on this?
Okay, I don't normally find myself in the position of sticking up for capitalism. I regard myself as a social democrat. I'm perfectly aware of many of capitalism's failures, but I'm not convinced by either Tim or Catherine on this. I mean, on the point about blaming capitalism for the fact that you couldn't more easily combine a successful professional career and the size of family you wanted, well, if you had lived in another country, another capitalist country, which provided you with nearly 2 years, essentially 2 years maternity leave on essentially full pay, which provides you with more or less free childcare, you would have been able to do those things. And there are plenty of capitalist countries in the world that do provide that. They're called the Scandinavian countries.
Can I just tell you that my husband has a brother and a sister, one who lives in Norway and one who lives in Germany, and they had 3 children and we had 1.
Well, exactly.
I'm not blaming capitalism.
Yeah. Okay,
I'm
good.
saying that there is no American capitalism and the lack of infrastructure for care is what. Don't put words in my mouth about blame. I accept my fate. I accept the fate that I was.
I think you did imply that this was capitalism. It is American capitalism.
It's a kind of American capitalism, right?
Okay.
And so there is also this sense that I'm not blaming anyone. It's an infrastructural failing with regard to industrialized countries. And more industrialized countries in the Anglo-American world want to emulate American capitalism. So what Tim described, well, maybe you're not, maybe you don't think so, but I think so. Anyway, so what Tim was describing to you was also this kind of infrastructure, food infrastructure. We call it the foodways. You can try to choose things, but the foodways are structured insofar to addict you to sugar, for instance. So
sugar, salt, and fat, actually.
Yeah. So we can't put this all on the individual.
No, I'm not putting it on the individual, but I think you also have to recognize that a lot of this is to do with the freedoms that we have chosen, the consequences of our decisions, our free choices to have much smaller families, to not care for our elderly people, to put them in homes. We are making these choices every day because we want to focus on our own self-actualization a lot of the time. And I think, that it's easy to scapegoat some sort of abstract outside force. We are heading towards a situation where the dependency ratio, when I was young, there was like 5 workers for every retired person. We're now 3 to 1. It's heading south. We will not be able to sustain a welfare state in the next 20 or 30 years. We're putting more costs because we're not caring after our own infants or old people. So we're putting more costs on the state. And there are fewer taxpayers there to pay to pay for what the state needs to do. So we are going to have to change. We are going to have to think harder about domesticity and rebuilding the family in the modern age with our modern freedoms.
So, Catherine, I'm going to give you a last word on the general topic.
So I do think that there is an antisocial tendency within late capitalism to actually make us more and more isolated from each other. And this idea that domesticity will restore a lack of sociality is one way of thinking about it. The more conservative, traditional way of go back to traditions, go back to the site of affectual care. I am not an anti-family leftist. I think that it's one of those havens from a cruel world that should be supported, but given an infrastructural support. What's happened in the United States, and this is class society, is that the rate of divorce among college-educated women has gone down, way, way down. The rate of divorce among working class women has gone way, way up. The chances of you being born out of wedlock, born in a working class world, are many times the chances of that than if you were born into a family where both parents are college educated. So it's almost as if, and this I am going to blame on capitalism, is in class society, we've arrogated the family as a luxury item for the professional classes and left the working classes out of the any shelter that they might have from the marketplace.
Okay.
So,
great. Thank you. Tim, I know you're going to have a lot of thoughts and replies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you, Catherine, because you've made one of the points that, our task is to understand why care is devalued, not, as David did, very articulately talk about all the ways in which it's devalued. I mean, nobody really disagrees with that. So in that sense, like Catherine, I sort of agree with where you're going. But I wanted to pick you up. I wanted to pick you up a couple of things I'd like to pick up. One is, what is care in itself? And the other is, where's capitalism's beef with care? And I do think there's a beef. I think to think about what care is, we have to think...
To continue watching this video, click the link in the top left or in the description below.
With a free trial, you can enjoy the full talk and thousands more.
Thank you for being part of the conversation.